Hello, hello. Can you see me? All good? Can you see and hear me? Okay, great. You can see me. That everything. So Magnus played h3, but just a moment, please. I need. Good, good. So I will continue. So Magnus played h3. Can you hear me? Take attack against rook c7. So rook c8 only move. Black can take and play rook e8. Queen c5 only move, but this endgame is very bad for white. Black has exchange up, good good chances for me. So Anton played g3. Oh, sorry. Okay, so g3 more or less forced. Magnus took the pawn. Queen d2, so white is dreaming to attack the knight, but suddenly knight is strong. So bishop e4. Played Magnus and bishop is hanging, and after bishop takes, black can take, queen g2 is mating threat, after f3 queen takes e3 just in time, and black has winning endgame. After bishop e2, b6, suddenly knight on a2 is very good piece, because white rook is trapped. Knight a4 played Anton, and very calm move, bishop h7. So after if takes immediately, knight takes c5, and then queen takes a2. White has some compensation. Bishop h7 played Magnus. Now he wants to play queen e4. If white plays bishop f3, there is a problem that after takes queen f5, bishop h1, queen c2. White cannot win. Bishop b1 instead of also interesting. Very creative. Yes, also. But probably white can just take, and after queen e4 to play bishop f1, after queen takes b5, rook takes. Yes, okay, queen takes b3 also. If rook d8, rook e8. Bishop g2, where bishop g2? Here, bishop g2. So possible. Okay, bishop b1. Really very creative move. But bishop h7 he played. So queen e4 he prepared. So alpha 0 pawn on h3 is really strong in this position. White is pawn down and under terrible pin. So white losing material. Okay. Great victory for Magnus, but I not wanted to take break, but internet is bad, so I will even there is possibility 15 minutes break, and I hope internet will be better. Hello, hello, hello. I'm here. I hope to continue my stream. Good. So, Magnus outplayed his opponent in a very creative style. What was mistake of Anton? I don't like c takes d5, frankly speaking. Of course, it doesn't mean that black is much better than after c takes d5, e takes d5, but I would prefer knight d2 because if knight c3, which can be fear of Anton, and we were considered probably the simplest for white, just take, and after d4 just take on d4, and knight takes d4, knight f3, it's nothing wrong for white. If queen takes d4, just rook e3 is possible, mm, and white is out of danger, because if rook d8, knight f3 is coming, and if queen takes e3, queen takes d8, and f takes e4, only white can be better in this endgame. If knight takes e5, knight f3 as well, and I don't see any problem for white in this position. For example, if this, if knight g4, rook c3. Black can also play h3, g3 before, but anyway, I think white is quite okay. Sorry. I mean, something like this, h3, g3, now knight takes e5, knight f3, but I don't see any reason for white to be worried. So I think knight d2 was much more flexible than c takes d5, e takes d5, because after c takes d5, e takes d5, black has planned to put rook on e8 and have active play, and even some tactical threats like knight takes d4 via e line. Without this exchange, white has more possibilities. Of course, probably after knight d2, immediately Magnus would play something like this and try to play more complicated position. It's totally possible, but okay, its position is playable for both. White can even go back to f3 and check if opponent agree to draw. Can you hear and see me well, right? If yes, I will start next game. If no, I will stop for today. It's okay. So next game. Okay, so next game, Magnus played against Baldauf, not so famous opponent like Anton Korobu, and we'll see how he beat him. So after g6, Magnus played knight bd2. I will flip board. So knight bd2. White wants to prepare e4, and black has choice to prevent e4 or to allow e4. If, for example, bishop g7, e4, d6, white usually playing bishop b5 check to provoke c6 and then bishop d3. Because if play immediately bishop d3, black has planned castle, castle, knight c6, and then e5 is coming with very solid position for black. But black can play castle here, like Ali Reza Firouzja played castle in this position. Idea if bishop d3 to play d6 and avoid bishop b5 check line. If e5, knight d5, it's, this position is in style of Alekhine defense. Black is prepared for d6, so looks like playable for black. Another interesting option here is c5. If d takes c5, queen a5. Now white has several options. For example, white can play something like this, and a3, or a3 immediately, queen takes c5, b4, queen c7, bishop b2, bishop g7. Knight e4 now is not dangerous for black because they have knight h5. So usually white is playing something like this. c4, d6, bishop e2, knight d7, rook c1, b6, castle, bishop b1, something like this. It's theoretical line. And then knight c3. Also interesting line is b3 here. And then bishop b2. For example, this, bishop, it's more or less same type of position. And later, again, white can use plan knight b1, knight c3, for example, like this. And knight c3 is coming. More or less like this. Important to know that knight e4 here looks like tempting because after bishop b2, knight c3, queen c1, bishop g7, knight on c3, it's quite strong. But after knight e4, white has idea to play c3. And black cannot take on c3 because after queen c3, rook b1 is extremely unpleasant. Bishop b2 is coming. If knight takes c3, queen c2 as well. Bishop b2 is very unpleasant threat for black. So knight takes d2. Oh, knight takes c5, of course, losing move. It's very simple. So knight takes d2 looks like correct move, but queen takes d2. Now if bishop g7, b4, black has no enough compensation for the pawn. So queen takes c5, queen d4. Queen takes d4, c takes d4, and white is slightly better in this endgame. So this is theory. But opponent of Magnus played d5, e3, b3. e3 is also possible with plan to play b4. And then bishop b2, c4. Pentala Hari Krishna played this against me and he won. Is it everything okay with stream? I need to check always for today because today quality of internet is far from optimal, unfortunately. Okay, good. So b3 played Magnus. Bishop g7, bishop b2, castle e3. Nothing special. So white just developing their pieces, and black has choice. Black can do many moves. For example, b6 is possible. If c4, bishop b7, c takes d5, knight takes d5 to prepare knight d7 and c5, something like this. Also possible to play c6 like in Slav defense. a5 is possible, but c5 played. D takes c5, queen a5. Now a3, queen takes c5, c4. So white has quite pleasant version of Catalan. Reversed Catalan, I mean. Because their pieces are more flexible than black ones. Queen on c5 is pseudo-active. Hari Krishna was here. Probably I have seen, but I don't remember. I will check. I will write for myself and will check. Hari Krishna was here. It was queen against rook and pawn. How he won? Hari Krishna won, or it was draw? I remember it was queen against rook and f pawn. hurry. But how it's finished? So quite a pleasant. So probably c5 is objectively, yeah, he won. Because I didn't win same end game against Aronian, although in blindfold, but anyway. So white already has quite pleasant position. Probably it means that c5 objectively is not the best option for black just here. Or if plays c5, probably there is a reason to consider a5 to play in gambit style, but it's risky somehow. a3 white can play and then b4. Because now white has more pleasant position. So d takes c4, bishop takes c4, knight c6. Again, black has choice, probably knight d7, also logical if rook c1, queen d6. The idea to prepare b6, bishop b7, or a6, b5, something like this. Thanks for subscription. So in many openings, black has choice where to develop his knight, to c6 or to d7. Same in Nimzo, India, for example, d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, e3, castle, bishop d3, c5, knight f3, d5, castle, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, and again now black has same choice. Knight c6 is possible, or knight bd7 is possible as well. Well, come back. So c5 is dubious somehow, in my opinion. Queen b6, b4, bishop g4. White has more pleasant position because bishop is stronger than knight. King on g7 is not in optimal position. Knight d6 played black. Probably knight f6 was more precise. But anyway, it's not total equality here. Knight d6, bishop e2, rook c8, queen b4 check, rook c, rook d8, h4. So Magnus trying to start attack. Again, he wants to play h5 and h6. Okay, immediately it doesn't look like big threat because after h6 black has knight f5 and then knight takes h6, but well, at least some idea. Black can play h5, but in that case knight will go to g5 and it's not so pleasant for black. So somewhere white can have ideas like bishop c4, if e6, something like this, even can be considered. Or immediately queen f6. So e6 is totally bad. So after knight g5, not so easy to play for black here. h6 was possible here, standard reaction with idea if h5 to play g5, but so also knight h2, white has idea f5, it's from king, knight g4 is coming, so not so easy. Opponent of Carlsen played a5. Strange choice. Probably was better to play something like this. Maybe a6 to stop b5, after h5 to play rook d7, because h6 knight f5 is possible. Oh, but after rook d7 knight e5 also. Rook is protected, so black can take. And after this, sorry. this. Queen takes e5, queen d6. Try to equalize in this position. Okay, maybe h6 white can try, and now knight e5. Maybe this is more unpleasant for black. Because bishop g4 is coming, and for example here bishop g4, and black can have tactical problems. If this works, however, so we can check knight e5, bishop takes. Maybe it doesn't work, however. So rook takes c1. So queen takes e5 is impossible because black can take and check, and queen b5 check, and black is winning. So rook takes c1 is only move. Rook takes, queen takes, and this endgame, queen c6 is possible, but endgame can be unpleasant for black. Queen takes c6, knight takes c6, bishop c8. So after h4, what is the best for black? I'm thinking. Somehow we can see that the queen on b6 is out of play, so would be much better to have queen somewhere on f8 and play queen g7. It would be enough. But okay, we can see from here probably black could play something more precise. But I don't know what exactly. a5 never works because b5, if knight takes b5, queen b2. So h4, Magnus attacking. a5, b5, knight b8. Now white has more space in both flanks. h5 is possible, but knight e5 played Magnus. So he is fighting with knight d7. Takes knight d7. h5. So Magnus continues his attack, and g takes h5 looks like strange choice, but what is normal choice, however? Knight f6 looks like normal move here. After h6, knight f5. But bishop c4 is coming. Black has tactical problem because if e6, knight take g6, rook f8, it's maybe possible, but maybe not losing, but dangerous somehow. I don't see how white can win immediately, but g4, knight takes e3 is not so clear for me. I see idea g4, but what is this? Okay, maybe white is better here, but it's not totally. For example, if this, I can check. You cannot go to f2 because I have this trick. Queen b3 after rook f8, black can just take on h6. No reason for sorry, because we are trying to understand what is going on together. Thinking. So bishop f7 doesn't work. Or it work? Ah, no, no. I'm considered this line. This, queen b3, e6, rook c6. But unfortunately, it doesn't work because b takes c6, check, king h8, knight f7, rook takes, queen takes, black has queen d8. Everything is protected. No mate. So knight f6, okay, h6, the most aggressive move. Aha. G4 is your, if after knight e3, knight d7. Maybe. Knight takes c4, just rook takes c4. Yes, maybe you are right. But sorry, I can take. And if rook takes c4, I have queen e6. I don't see why it is bad for black. Looks like good for black. So this position is not so clear. But maybe white has this idea. Bishop takes f7, rook f7, rook c8 check, and after rook f8, knight d7. Yes, this is winning. So after knight e3, just bishop takes f7. King h8 also bad. Yes, so it's correct idea. So it works. So g4, yes. If knight takes e3, bishop takes f7 is cut. So g4 is really strong here. If knight e3, bishop takes f7. So how to defend h5? Not easy. Black took on h5. Surely it's some pleasant choice, but g5, okay. Hardly pleasant position for black. Okay, so white is clearly better. So g takes h5, bishop takes h5, white is enjoying this attack. So knight c4, black has weak king and also a lot of weakness in another flank. So queen d2, queen d4. It's just technical job. e6, bishop h5, elegant finish. Okay, not so difficult one, but beautiful. Black cannot play knight g7 because queen h8, of course. So, white won. Okay, so quite good game. About Alireza, okay. Difficult to say anything concrete about Alireza. But okay, one day I made stream about his games. Okay, I can collect his more fresh games. I mean, games of Alireza and try to comment them. to express my opinion about him more clearly with illustration of games. And the last game from last round, Magnus Carlsen played with black again against strong Iranian grandmaster Parham Mahsudlu. And we will consider this now. So again, I will flip board. Magnus played d5, so he didn't want to play bishop b4 for some reason. I don't know for which reason, but okay. So he played d5, c takes d5, Carlsbad variation, c6, immediately h6 he played. Usually black not hurry with this move, bishop e7, bishop f5 is popular line, this endgame. Or bishop e7 classical line. Also queen b6 sharp line exists. For example, this queen c1, this knight takes d5, and white is better according to theory. But okay, so h6 he played. Bishop h4, bishop e7, bishop d3, castle, and I have seen something. So I have seen after queen c2 Magnus played this. It was original idea, knight c6 and then queen b4 check and then knight f6, something like this. So he played knight e8 with allow knight takes d5 and queen takes c8, but now he played knight e8 with indifferent situation. Now his bishop is not hanging, so white can change bishops. Played bishop g3. Mahsudlu preferred to play bishop g3, knight d6, castle, rook e8. Unfortunately, bishop f5 immediately. Maybe it's possible. So why not bishop f5? Because if bishop d6, bishop d3, bishop e7, bishop e2, and okay, maybe white is slightly better, but for example, bishop takes b4, something like this. But okay, it's pretty drawish. Yes, dry positions. So probably Magnus played rook e8 to have more complicated game. What else white can do after bishop f5? Of course white can play f3, for example, if white wants to play something more complicated. Bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, and then e4 is coming. White has choice. Bishop d6 is not totally necessary. Thanks for your subscription. But okay, rook e8 played Magnus, queen c2. Now black can forget about bishop f5, bishop f8. White has several plans, so they can try to play b4, maybe not immediately, or play in the center. So Parlam or Parham, I don't remember his name correctly, Parlam or Parham, okay, Mahsudlu played rook a e1. So it looks like he wants to prepare f3 and e4 in future, but at the moment f3 not possible because pawn is hanging. So Magnus playing a5, quite logical move. He prepare knight a6, knight f4, f3 immediately not possible, so knight f4, knight a6, a3. Knight b4 is blocked and white is ready to Parham. White is ready to play f3 and e4 and try to have advantage in the center. Queen f6. Idea to attack d4 pawn. And in this way to prevent e4. Now e4 pawn is hanging. Probably it's possible to sacrifice this pawn, but okay, it's not easy at least. e4, queen takes d4 check, bishop f2, queen f6 back. Okay, so he played b5, white played bishop f2. Okay, in my opinion, looks like king h1. More natural move. Idea to prepare e4. Because in some, if now black will take on d4, it will be without check, and probably white will have possibilities for initiating. But I want to illustrate my idea with concrete variation. For example, this e4. If takes, I want to play e5. If rook takes e5, I can take, and bishop h7 check, and knight g6 check, and win the queen. Of course, this is very simple. But so after e5, black cannot take on e5, but if knight c4, e6 is unpleasant, then bishop h7, so white has concrete tactical threats. Of course, bishop b7 is not forced move, but what else? Maybe knight f5 is possible. But if knight f5, there is question why not immediately knight f5. My idea is knight takes d4 and takes on f4. However, about this I am not sure, because white has rook e8 or check firstly and rook e8, and this is bad for black. So this idea doesn't work. It's queen d6, bishop g3. If bishop f5, white can simply take on f8 and take on f5. So, but after b5 king, maybe black can try this, because here situation is changed. And after bishop h7, king h8, rook e8, black has bishop b7. It's important difference. Everything is protected. White has no mate, and white cannot win any material. So knight f5 looks like logical move from this point of view. Of course, white can play something like queen f2 with complicated game, but at least black will have two bishops advantage. So position is very complicated. After, maybe also white can play bishop f2, and after knight takes d4, white can consider this trick as well. And after knight takes c2, knight takes f6, g takes f6, bishop c2, white is better because black has loose pawn structure, and after this also black has big problem with d5 and b5 pawn. Yes, so knight f5 and knight takes d4 is not, doesn't work, so king h1 looks like a logical move. If bishop b7, immediately is possible to take, but now white can consider also e takes d5, but I like e5, same idea. If knight c4, e6 is coming, and white has strong initiative. So king h1 was like very logical alternative for Parham Makhsudlo, but he played bishop f2. Bishop f2 is a little bit strange for me, because now white has no threat to play e4. Now his knight is hanging, and black has some time to organize some contraplay. So contraplay can be to prepare b4 and c5 somewhere. Okay, before knight a4 immediately. So he played knight c4. Very natural, in my opinion, looks bishop b7 to prepare rook c8, c5 somewhere. But okay, of course, position is complicated. White can play this, for example, this idea to prepare e4. c5 is hardly possible. White can take with bishop, but also white can take with knight, because c4 is not win the piece. It could win the piece if image that king on also not. Yes, no. If king on h8, white have knight takes d6, c takes d3, knight takes e8. Okay, queen g6. But now white has check. I mean, so. And bishop can go back to f5. So probably this was reason uh, for Magnus not play natural move bishop b7. So he's playing knight c4. It's active move, but in same time it's prophylactic move, because he's fighting against plan knight fe2. Now pawn e3 is hanging, so white has no idea. Knight e2. Who is the greatest player? I don't know who is the greatest player. Fortunately, I played against many good players, and I hope to play against them in future as well. g3. White plan is clear, so he wants to play e4. Now knight is protected. g5 is hardly good, because knight h5. If queen takes f3, bishop e2 is coming. Queen f5 only move, and white can win exchange. Also, situation, probably this position is good for black. I don't know, because black has pawn against exchange and very active pieces. But, well, white has choice. After bishop f5, white can play bishop d3 to propose draw. But queen e6. Okay, if queen e6, e4 is coming. If another move with queen, knight f6 is coming. So queen f3 is draw. So white has such option, and also maybe white has something more aggressive to play e4. Maybe it's possible. But my idea, if takes, I can take, and bishop e3 and knight f6 is coming. But not so clear for me what to play after queen g6. Queen g6 is possible. This situation is not clear for me. Probably black is okay here. Because I don't see how white knight can penetrate to f6. But okay, g5 is certainly very risky move. Queen d8 played Magnus. e4 finally played Maksudlu. In b4, Magnus starts his contraplay. E takes d5, rook takes, knight d6. Interesting position. What to play with white? Maksudlu played very solid here. He played knight a4. But of course he could play sharp. He could play d takes c6, b takes c3, and now to take with queen or to take with pawn. I like to take with pawn, this idea to prepare c4, and now white has three pawns against knight and very promising position, in my opinion. So c4, c5 is his plan. What to do with black? If queen c7, d5 is possible. And then again c4 and c5. So I like such position for white. So I don't know why Parham didn't play this and what Magnus played, what Magnus planned to play here. Um, Very hard to believe that both of them didn't consider idea d takes c6, but of course it was great plan. I think I would play this if imagine that I am white. I have feeling that white is better here. But okay, so I didn't play this game, and choice of Parham was knight a4. Also knight e4 was reasonable alternative. Go to the center, and white is better. Certainly white is better, but only question how much is better. There are not only positional advantage, but okay, white has extra pawn at the moment. For example, takes this idea knight b4. Takes, takes. White has extra pawn, but okay, probably black has some compensation after bishop b7. Rook c8 is coming, but hard to believe that this kind of compensation is totally enough, because white pieces are not less active than black ones. For example, knight c3, rook c8, queen b3 is possible. So, okay, problem for white. White has a big choice of good possibilities, but the most, even knight e2 can be considered. But okay, the most promising for me looks d takes c6, but Parham played knight a4. Also logical move, c takes d5. Now he took on d5. Of course, white can um, play without taking this pawn, so knight c5 looks like very logical move. White has clear advantage here, but probably black can try to defend somehow. B takes a3, b takes a3, knight c7, but bad position for black, of course. Not immediately took. Logical. There is pawn, and he wants to play knight b6, but rook b8. Played Magnus. So he is pawn down, but now white has some problem with his knight on a4. So knight c5, logical. Only question is the best if white has serious alternative, but okay, knight c5, knight b5. So now you can see idea of contraplay. So knight is under attack, and also black is attacking a3 pawn. So if bishop c4 or bishop e4, black can just take on a3, and at least to play with equal material. Is the traversing okay? You can hear me and see me, I hope. Hello. What's the question? Why not just take on before? Because what black should play? Take with knight, okay. Take. And then knight c5 is coming. Rook takes before. Even knight c3 is possible to block idea knight b5. And then d5 is coming with bishop b7. White is pawn up. Compensation doesn't look very convincing. So I takes before. Logical alternative, but okay, now knight b5 he played. Now if bishop c4 or bishop e4, black can take on a3. Not so clear what white can do. So Parham took and queen c4. But okay, now at least black has two bishops advantage. Rook b8. a4 he played. I'm still at home in Lviv. You can see my prizes, trophies. So white need to do something. A4 played. So he wants to block B line. And probably he provoke Magnus to play this, and after rook takes a6 and knight f4, or even knight b6, white has quite a promising position. Slava Ukraini, героям слава. But Magnus played bishop b7. He doesn't want to take such an exchange. c6 played Maksudlu. Maybe rook d1 was possible as well. But after rook d1, black can block this unpleasant pawn. And rook rook d7 is threat now for white. Also, it's necessary to calculate something like this. Queen d3, queen f6, queen takes d5, queen takes b2, c6, queen c2, something like this. Maybe black is okay, but queen d7. Which pawn is more dangerous? b3, c7, rook a8. What is this? Maybe even queen d3 is possible here. But okay, it's quite complicated and not forcing variation. After queen a6, black can consider. Okay, rook c8 no, because knight e7 check. Okay, maybe this is possible, rook d1, but it's complicated. Maybe now rook c8 is possible. Maybe even more logical. So c6 played Parham, rook c8, bishop b6, queen d6. White pawn under the pin, so bishop c7, more or less forced, rook c1. So everything is changed, and time to draw. So I finished my report today about Magnus in Austria. Thanks for your attention. Sorry for bad internet. Тим, хто з України, бажаю мирного неба над головою і якось зберігати спокій, боротися далі, надіятися, що все-таки все буде добре, і ми переможемо. And see you next time. Good night.